And then we're going to look. She puts her knee directly between her legs into her groin.
Streaking to the basket, and here's what.
Look at that. Boom. Look at her put her knee into Caitlin Clark's groin.
Right. And then we're going to look. She puts her knee directly between her legs into her groin, streaking to the basket, and here's what. Look at that. Boom. Look at her put her knee into Caitlin Clark's groin. Right there on that play, right? I mean, this is gross right there. Music. Now, let's get to let's see. That's the same clip. Now, let's get to this one. This is a different angle of the play. Caitlin, watch this. Look at that. Look at her put her fist and her forearm into Caitlin Clark's neck. On this play, whenever a highly anticipated, emotionally charged matchup tips off in professional basketball, the entire world watches closely to see who will establish dominance early. Music. We expect physicality. We expect veteran players to test the newcomers. We expect the intensity to reach a boiling point. But what happens when the line between a hard-fought basketball game and a completely unmanageable physical altercation becomes dangerously blurred? The WNBA is currently experiencing an absolute explosion in global popularity, drawing millions of new fans who tune in every single night to witness music, spectacular offensive displays, and generational talent. However, a massive shadow has suddenly been cast over the entire league following a deeply concerning sequence of events that forced the undisputed face of the franchise, Caitlin Clark, music, to leave the court with a significant injury. Today, we are entirely ignoring the outside noise, the unverified rumors, and the post-game excuses. We're going straight to the game, music, film. We are slowing down the footage frame by frame to ask the difficult, uncomfortable questions that the mainstream broadcasts seem incredibly hesitant to address. Was this just an unfortunate series of incidental basketball collisions, music, or are we witnessing a deliberate, calculated physical strategy that the league's officiating crews are completely failing to control? Music. Let's begin by analyzing the exact moment the entire atmosphere of the arena shifted violently. Watch, music, this drive to the basket. In the chaotic, high-speed scramble for positioning, veteran Alyssa Thomas and Caitlin, music, Clark get tangled up. Thomas is widely known and deeply respected for her incredibly aggressive enforcer style of play. But as you watch the slow-motion replay of their momentum carrying them to the hardwood, pay very close attention to the lower body mechanics. Fans and analysts across social media immediately highlighted what appears to be a direct, forceful knee making contact with Clark's lower midsection in the midst of the fall. In the fast-paced nature of professional sports, bodies collide and accidents absolutely happen. But when you break down the mechanics of the fall, you have to ask, music, was that natural lower body momentum, or was it an avoidable secondary motion? The sheer force of the impact sends Clark straight to the ground, disrupting the entire offensive flow. Yet, astonishingly, there is no whistle. The referees, positioned mere feet away from the play, signal for the action to continue as if nothing out of the ordinary has just occurred. Play up. Now let's get to this one. This is a different angle of the play. Caitlin, watch this. Look at that. Look at her put her fist and her forearm into Caitlin Clark's neck on this play. Right there. And then uses her fist to get up. Did she try to kick Caitlin Clark? Let me look at or step on her. To completely grasp the severity of this specific sequence, we have to look at the secondary camera angle. Getting knocked to the floor is an undeniable reality of playing professional basketball at the highest level. Every great guard has to take their fair share of hits driving to the rim. But what happens immediately after the initial fall is what has sparked an absolute firestorm of controversy and fierce debate across the sports world. As Alyssa Thomas begins the mechanical process of standing back up, look very closely at the placement of her forearm, music, and closed hand. The visual evidence clearly shows heavy, concentrated body weight being pressed directly into the upper chest and lower neck area of Caitlin Clark, who is entirely defenseless on her back. Now, we must analyze this purely from a biomechanical perspective. When a player is attempting to regain their footing, does natural balance require pinning an opponent to the floor using their upper torso as leverage? Is it simply an incredibly awkward, unfortunate entanglement? Or is it a veteran utilizing the blind spots of the officiating crew to send a very clear, very physical message to a star player? The optics of this moment are incredibly difficult to watch for any basketball purist. Clark is visibly struggling against the sheer weight and positioning music of the opposing player, and once again, the silence from the referee's whistle is absolutely deafening. There is no immediate stoppage of play to review for a hostile act. There is no flagrant foul assessed to protect the vulnerable player on the ground. There is just a continuation of play, leaving millions of viewers deeply bewildered and aggressively questioning the consistency of the league's rulebook. If the WNBA is heavily marketing these generational talents to a massive global audience, how can the broadcast simultaneously showcase a superstar absorbing this level of unchecked upper body contact without a single consequence being handed down on the floor? But the physical toll on Caitlin Clark's body during this game was tragically far from over. She had the back injury right here. All right, let me turn the sound down. She hits the floor. That's where the defender came in at her too close when she's trying to shoot this three-point shot. She's going to hit the ground, and when she rolls over, she grabs her back. All right, she reaches around and grabs her back. And right there. Did anybody see that? Watch Caitlin. Just moments after enduring that highly controversial, deeply exhausting physical sequence on the floor, Clark attempts to regain her offensive rhythm. This is exactly what elite scorers' music do. They try to shoot themselves out of the physical frustration. She finds an opening, sets her feet, and elevates for a deep three-point attempt. But I need you to completely take your eyes off the trajectory of the basketball and focus entirely on the lower half of your screen. Music, look at the aggressive closeout from the defending player. In the modern era of professional basketball across every major league on the planet, the landing space rule is considered the most sacred, heavily enforced regulation in the sport. It was specifically designed, after years of catastrophic ankle and knee injuries, to ensure that airborne shooters have a safe, clear zone to return to the hardwood. But look at this closeout. The defender's momentum carries them recklessly and deeply into Clark's vulnerable landing cylinder. Clark comes down awkwardly, entirely unable to brace herself properly, and crashes heavily onto the court. Music in real time, it is a terrifying visual. This is the exact type of highly dangerous play that the landing space rule was explicitly written to eradicate. Yet, incredibly, look at the reaction of the officials. No foul is called. No review is initiated. The disparity in how the rules are seemingly being applied is causing a massive uproar. We are forced to ask a very logical question. Are the referees allowing a vastly different, far more dangerous level of physicality to be applied to Caitlin Clark compared to the rest of the league? When a player's safety is compromised in the air, it ceases to be about tough defense and immediately becomes a severe liability for the long-term health of the athletes. And she is going to reach behind and grab her back right there. Right there, she grabbed her back. So, people believe this is where she got hurt. That's what it looks like anyway. This is the cumulative, devastating effect of these uncalled physical interactions instantly takes its toll. As Clark rolls over on the hardwood following the compromised landing space, watch her immediate physical reaction. Before she even fully registers the outcome of the play, her hand reaches instinctively and urgently for her lower back. This is not a subtle cramp. This is not a player simply catching their breath. The body language radiating from the screen screams of sharp, undeniable pain. For weeks, incredibly observant fans and dedicated beat reporters have been quietly documenting Clark wearing a heavy back brace during warm-ups and off-court appearances. The Indiana Fever organization has consistently and repeatedly downplayed the severity of these lingering issues, often vaguely attributing it to simple load management or the grueling schedule of the season. But the undeniable truth has now completely unraveled on national television. When a player with a known pre-existing back issue is subjected to heavy unpenalized contact on the floor and then immediately has their landing space violently compromised on a jump shot, the results are highly predictable and deeply tragic. The question now heavily shifts toward the medical staff and the front office. Did the Indiana Fever organization fundamentally fail to protect their most valuable, irreplaceable asset by continually allowing her to play heavy, exhausting minutes through visible physical discomfort? Did they negligently expose her to the type of catastrophic, compounding damage that we are watching unfold on the screen right now? The fans are demanding transparency, and the silence regarding her true medical status is only fueling the growing outrage. But the utter shock of the evening wasn't just isolated to the plays on the court. It extended directly to the sidelines. And here's my issue. Stephanie White should have lost her ever-loving __ on that floor after that dirty shot from Thomas. Of course she didn't. Of course she didn't, because she's tight with Alyssa Thomas and DeWanna Bonner. Stephanie White should have got thrown out of this game on that play right there. Thrown out of the game. She should have at minimum got a ugly technical out. This brings us to perhaps the most incredibly perplexing and fiercely debated aspect of this entire dramatic saga, the reaction of the Indiana Fever coaching staff. Music, when your franchise player, the absolute undeniable engine of your entire offensive system, and the primary reason millions of dollars in revenue are pouring into the organization, takes multiple devastating, uncalled hits in a single quarter, what is the standard expectation of a head coach? If you look at the history of basketball from the collegiate level all the way to the pros, this is the exact defining moment a coach earns the undying respect of their locker room. This is the moment a head coach strategically and loudly takes a technical foul. This is the moment a coach marches onto the hardwood, gets directly into the official's face, and unequivocally demands that the physical abuse of their star point guard stops immediately. It is a psychological tactic designed to draw a firm line in the sand. But the visual feedback from the sidelines during this specific game paints a vastly different, highly concerning picture. The lack of a massive, explosive reaction from the bench has left analysts and fans completely bewildered. Why wasn't the game halted by the coaching staff demanding an immediate, comprehensive review of the upper body contact? Are we witnessing a highly unusual, passive approach to game management? Or is there a deeper, more complicated philosophical disconnect between how the old guard of the WNBA views paying your dues versus protecting the modern superstars who are financially carrying the league? You can calmly state in a post-game press conference that you support your players, but the fans are meticulously analyzing the heat-of-the-moment body language. And the perceived lack of immediate, aggressive advocacy for Caitlin Clark's physical safety on the floor has ignited a massive debate about the true culture within the Indiana Fever organization. Sit through one of these games is the following. Caitlin Clark is out for any reason. Caitlin Clark went to the bench. All of a sudden, she then went to the locker room, did not return, and it took a while to get an update. I tagged a couple of people in the media. What's the deal with Caitlin Clark? Nothing. And that stark concerning reality leads us directly to the devastating conclusion of the night. The incredibly somber visual of Caitlin Clark unable to continue, gingerly walking off the floor and eventually disappearing into the locker room tunnel. She did not return. The game continued. The opposing team celebrated a physical victory, but the entire atmosphere of the WNBA season has been completely, irrevocably altered. When a superstar is forced to leave a game under these specific, highly controversial circumstances, it is no longer just about the final score on the board. It is about the fundamental integrity of the league's officiating and the long-term sustainability of its current explosive growth. The WNBA is standing at a deeply critical historical crossroads. They have finally captured the undivided attention of the mainstream global sports audience. But if the fans constantly tune in only to witness the league's brightest stars being systematically battered into the locker room without the protection of basic, fundamental basketball rules like landing space and unnecessary contact limits, how long will that audience realistically stay? We are not asking for a soft, contact-free version of basketball. Physicality is a beautiful, necessary part of the game. But fans are loudly and aggressively demanding basic fairness, strict consistency from the referees, and the total elimination of dangerous, non-basketball plays that jeopardize the health of the athletes. The Indiana Fever are now left holding their breath, waiting for medical updates, while the rest of the basketball world passionately debates the footage we just reviewed. What do you completely, honestly think about the sequences we just broke down? Are the officials simply missing calls in the fast pace of the game, or is there a systemic failure to protect certain players? Is the coaching staff fundamentally failing in their duty to defend their star? I want to read your deepest, most analytical thoughts in the comment section down below right now. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button where we never shy away from the hard tape, and ring that notification bell so you never miss a breakdown. Until next time, keep your eyes on the court.